Oh, what is the Upskis, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GXHockeyCast. We're on episode 108, Mike Commissaric. Let's fucking go. Of this little hockey show where once a week I go through all of the major news and what's happenings in the NHL, mainly focusing in on the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Calgary Flames. Those are my two favorite teams, but I'll be discussing all 32 teams on this podcast. And what do we have on tap for today? Well, some interesting stuff I want to talk about. We have some new rules and some stuff coming back to the NHL we'll be talking about. Some I'm down for, some not so much. Are the Nashville Predators Stanley Cup contenders? We will discuss that. How bad are the Calgary Flames going to be? We got to talk about Crosby and Leon Draisaitl, so we'll be talking about that stuff. And where the heck do we start? Let's start with this NHL league stuff that I kind of missed last week. It was a little bit last second, but here we go. Let's get ready. NHL reinstate Bowman and Joel Quenneville back to the NHL. So they've been reinstated. Joel Quenneville, head coach of the Chicago Blackhawks during their dynasty, how some of the Europeans say dynasty. Anyway, Joel Quenneville, head coach, and Bowman, the GM, during their run, and obviously were in charge and involved in the Kyle Beach situation. So, I was of the mind during that they shouldn't have come back. I still feel very strongly about that they shouldn't have been allowed back into the league, but here we are, and yeah, I'm not comfortable about it. I don't like it. I know they weren't 100% responsible for it, but they were leaders in that, and they didn't take charge of the situation because Stanley Cup. And I just don't think that I know it's important, but a person's life was kind of derailed. And yeah, so we'll not go too far down into that because I don't make the decisions here, but all I can say is that I don't feel good about that. Once they brought Babcock back again, he didn't have a whole he never went to through a trial or anything yet, but once Babcock came back, I was like, oh man, more than likely they will be coming back to, they being Quenneville and Bowman, and some rumors already that Bowman tied to Edmonton, so I don't like that. But there are some things that are actually pretty good. And I was like, whoa, how did I not? This one slipped through the cracks, and I feel like it might have slipped through a few people's cracks. But this upcoming season will be 84 games, straight up. So we are adding 2 more games, which is good. I mean, not really. I would preferably like the regular season to be much shorter, down to the 70 games, I think would be much better, and hopefully not have as many injuries and have a better playoff. Get the playoffs done earlier so that we're not halfway or you're getting into the summer when, I know, it's just, that would be, I think, good, but the payoff is we have less preseason games now, which is fantastic. I don't like preseason games. I understand them, but yeah, they were doing 7. I think the Leafs were doing 8 because they were just milking that money cow, baby, because those preseason tickets weren't cheap either. So they're going down to, I think it's 4, so still too many for my liking, but I do understand the reasoning for preseason games. It gives the younger up-and-comers or people on tryouts an opportunity to show you what's up. It's just not, I'm not interested in it. So that is some stuff, and also they're saying an earlier season start date. Question mark. So the schedules are out and everything. Some good videos. I will shout out the Dougie Hamilton one. That one was rather funny. He was playing a geography teacher, and yeah, that was a funny video. If you saw those, I only saw the 2 that were apparently the best, and it's a pretty steep decline from the Dougie Hamilton to the apparent second best being Jeff Carter going, it's the same fucking shit on his lawnmower. I'm like, all right, bro, relax. So we got some new rules and stuff like that coming in. I discussed some of the rule changes last episode, not last year. But yeah, I mean, the lengthening the season, like I said, what do you think about that? Do you think are you fine with the season moving up to 84 games, or would you like it to be shorter so that maybe we can have a better, healthier playoff with not as tired players and you can have the season and the playoffs ending a little bit in a more reasonable season, like later spring, not early into the summer. So I don't know. That's just something I've been pitching because, I don't know, maybe it's just because I've been watching hockey for so long that just 82 games is a lot of freaking games, to quote the Steve Dangle man. So now he's going to have to say 84 games. So there you go. We'll slide over to Toronto really quick here because there's, it's just kind of the same shit over there in Toronto, but I want to touch on the Yanni Hakanpää situation, which is they are going to sign him and gamble on it. I think it's a good gamble for 1.5 if he is not healthy enough to play this season. That is a basically variable contract. They're very good at doing that kind of stuff, so I'm not worried there. And on top of that, Toronto has a very good medical staff. They've rehabbed players in the past. I think of Tyler Ennis. That's kind of the only one that comes to my head right now, because just for some reason, I know why the reason. Because of NHL video games, I love Tyler Ennis. And when he was a Leaf, I was so happy. And he was a pretty fucking solid Leaf. Anyway, so with the medical staff being pretty solid, if they can get him back on track for a $1.5 million, 6'7", apparently this guy's fucking huge, right-handed shot as well. So yeah, I mean, pretty solid gamble. I am fine with that. The Mitch Marner situation continues to roll on. It's essentially a guaranteed at this point. He will start the season as a Toronto Maple Leaf, and we'll see where it goes from there. He could end up just walking from the team at the end. He could get traded midway, or they could just re-sign him midway. It's still the same situation, so I really don't have much more to add on the Marner thing, other than I just agree with everybody else, where with the Montreal collapse, that was probably the time, or that was the time to break up that core. Like, that was it, man. Like, that was as concrete evidence that it wasn't working and you needed to shake something up. And yeah, they just kept, we'll double down, we'll just roll it back, and that's what we're in for again this season. So don't get your hopes up. I'm sorry to yuck your yum, but just, keep our expectations tempered, I guess. But hey, I started with the Leafs' final playoff run in 03-04, and then we went 8-9 years playoff-less. So yeah, I mean, I have gotten a little fat, and what would you say? Let's go with happy. We'll stick with happy. We'll go with that. But yeah, I mean, most people are pretty certain that the Leafs will be a playoff team yet again. But keep your playoff expectations to the usual low. But for me, it always seems to happen at this point of the year. Yes, we're all very, very low, but the closer we get to that starting date of the season, that rally starts to come around, and then people are like, hey, you know what? Maybe. And then I get on that stupid train, I'm not going down that road. Let's go down a different road. Let's go down the Washington road. There's a lot to talk about with Washington. Actually, let's skip that road for right now, because that's going to lead into a big old thing. Let's talk about Seattle. They have hired Jessica Campbell as the first female assistant coach / coach in general in the NHL. I thought there's been a female in there before, but hey, this is, better to get it started now rather than later, I guess. I mean, I can't believe it's taken this long, but finally, so congratulations to Jessica Campbell. She will be joining Seattle, and she has worked in the past with their new head coach, Dan Bylsma, in Coachella, where they have both had quite good success together. So we'll see if that translates into the NHL. Rooting for her as well, and let's get some more females in there. Let's get some newer, younger minds. Like, let's freaking get that ball rolling. Like, I cannot believe, the Babcock thing, oh my goodness, there's just so many better paths you could have chosen, man. That is just the worst PR move. What a nightmare. Goodness gracious. Okay. Speaking of, what can I go with a nightmare? How bad are the Calgary Flames going to be? Let's go down that road. Okay, I know Flames fans, you probably don't want to hear it right now, but it's probably going to be a rough road here for the next upcoming season for the Calgary Flames, which, hey, that's what I was asking for last season, and I think the Flames fans that hopefully are on the same page with me that, like, hey, doesn't have to be a full tear down rebuild. It doesn't have to be that way, but it's starting to look that way. So we'll pull up the Calgary Flames page. I went to Cap Friendly today, and R.I.P. y'all, that bitch is dead. She gone, no more Cap Friendly. So now we get to, that was an ugly sound. I'm sorry about that. But now I'm going to they're sponsored by that. Where am I? Puckpedia? Yeah, that's pretty cool. Puckpedia, not bad so far. They will, I know, I don't care. It's fine with me. I am just happy that we have some tools like this at our hands. So let's take a look at the Calgary Flames situation right now. We'll start with the forward core. So we know Jonathan Huberdeau. It's been a nightmare situation for him in Calgary. It just has not worked. It's been a few years now, and he still just has not been even close to what he was in Florida, which sucks. Like, I was very patient with Huberdeau. I gave him like almost 2/3 of the first season. I was like, hey, he's coming from the East. He's going now to the West. Give him a minute. And now it's been years now. So I can no longer just be like, I guess this is what Jonathan Huberdeau is going to be with the Flames, and I can honestly only expect a very similar style season out of him, where it's going to be not the 100-point Huberdeau that he was in Florida. So, let's just keep those expectations where they are. Huberdeau isn't a horrible human being because he is not currently living up to his contract's expectations, but it is what it is, man. Like, we all thought it was a great deal at the time, but well, now we know that not so much. But he is 31. It's not like he has just lost his talent. It's just, I don't know, he just does not have the people around him at the moment. So he has Nazem Kadri, kind of their top line center right now because Lindholm is gone. I love Kadri. Kadri is going to go down as one of my favorite players of this generation, I would imagine. But $7 million on the cap. Huberdeau's $10.5 million. I giggled. I couldn't even get it out without laughing. That's just yikes. But the Kadri won $7 million isn't horrible. I know, again, he is not the player that he was in Colorado. That's not really what Kadri was in general. Like, yes, he had some pretty damn good seasons as a third-line center in Toronto, scoring 30 goals, and he was fantastic for Colorado, helped them win a Stanley Cup. But it hasn't been, like, the perfect fit here for him. But new season, new coach, new everything. So, hey, I like Kadri. He's an emotional leader, so I like him. They re-signed Andrei Kuzmenko, which I think is pretty good. Nothing wrong with that. 28-year-old forward, $5.5 million. They could move that, no problem. They can hold on to him, no problem. They may have to, because they might need someone to score. Like, this guy, he scored, almost 40 goals, I think, with the Vancouver. It's early, and I had not slept well. It's been just murderously hot in and around here. Okay, so I am currently just trying to pull up Mr. Kuzmenko's stats. All right, we have them here. So yeah, he scored 39 goals in his first season in the NHL. He came in late, so he's a late bloomer, so don't think he's like this 20-year-old phenom scoring 30, but that is an impressive first go. Then the next season didn't go so great. So in 43 games, he only had the 8 goals with the Vancouver Canucks. And then he moves on to Calgary, where in 29 games, he got 14 goals, which is actually pretty damn nice, man. That is easily a 30-goal pace. And yeah, so I imagine Calgary is hoping that is the player that they are going to get. I think he's going to, fall somewhere in between the middle of that 39 goals, and he will not be as bad as the, 22 goals that he got there. I think, he could be in and around 28 to 32 goals. I think that is fair to hope for out of Kuzmenko. Someone's got to score on this team, so I liked him in that little run that he had there. But again, short run. I know people think like, once they're out of the playoffs, teams don't play them as hard, but he did his job well in that run, so I'm fine with that. Blake Coleman, he was unfrickin' real last season for the Calgary Flames. He did kind of peter out towards the end, but, so did the team. But a 4.9 cap hit is not that bad. He is 32 years old, so I don't know if he's gonna... I don't know. I imagine he's going to have a similar kind of season. There's not as many great assets on the team anymore, but I think Blake Coleman is a really good Flame. He's one of my favorite ones right now currently on the team. We get Michael Backlund coming back, the current captain of the team. He's 35, so at 4.5, I don't think he's going to be going anywhere unless he does want to chase a cup. I don't believe he's won it. He's been a career Flame, but if he would want to, I would be absolutely fine with that. I would be totally fine with Calgary retaining 50%. Trade him for nothing. It doesn't matter to me. Just let him go. If he wants to go and win, if he wants to stay, fine. They need to hit the salary cap floor, right? So we have newcomer Anthony Mantha, 3.5. Man, I've always wanted better things for Anthony Mantha. I always, thought he would be a fantastic player, and he's not a bad player. He was traded midway last season, so in his 56 games with the Capitals, 20 goals, 14 assists, 34 points. That is not bad at all, man. And 20-goal kind of player. Then he went to Vegas. It wasn't great, but not bad. 18 games, 10 points, only 3 goals. And Mantha has had just a pretty all over the place. I know he's just kind of been all over the place in terms of points. He's not a very consistent player, and he's definitely not been the 50-point player that he started out as with the Detroit Red Wings. So lately, his best run was his best run over the last 4 or 5 years has been the Washington Capitals short run here with 34 points. So maybe he can hit 40 some odd points, I think would be something to reach for Anthony Mantha this season. Hoping for 20 goals. 20 goals, 20-20, 20 goals, 20 assists. Not bad, not horrible. Now we get to Igor Sharangovich. Maybe, I don't know. He's definitely one of my favorites. I like this guy a lot. I liked him in New Jersey. I just thought they weren't using him. There was just too much forward depth, and he just couldn't get in there. And he found a home in Calgary. He was really good. They signed him to a pretty damn solid extension that could age really well if he continues to be a 30-goal scorer, which he was last season. 31 goals, 28 assists, 59 points. Not a lot of points, but for a 30-goal scorer, if he can keep that up and be a consistent 30-goal scorer or in and around that 28 to 32, that range, for $5.7 million for the next handful of seasons, year 2 of 3, no, hold on, 5-year extension, 5-year extension at $5.75 million, that could be a bargain. And in terms of his career, he does project to be that as long as he's getting the ice time. He had 24 goals with the Devils, and then he went down to 13 because his ice time went way down. And then he went back up to 31, where he had a good role with the Calgary Flames. He's versatile. I really like Igor Sharangovich. Love the deal as well, but again, I don't know how amazing this team is going to be. So we have another newcomer, Ryan Lomberg. I like that signing. For them, probably bottom 6 forward, no doubt. For $2 million, he'll bring that winning mentality maybe to the team, help them out, help the younger guys come along. He is 29. He's not the old guy, but it's kind of an older team as well, a little bit. On the higher, 31, 33, 32, 35. So, 31. There's a handful of guys on the back end of their career starting anyway. Kevin Rooney is there. Martin Pospisil, 24-year-old center, didn't have the greatest season, but wasn't awful. I liked some of the aspects that he brought to the team. 24 points in 63 games, not earth-shattering, but not bad. Played better towards the back part of the season where he was starting to get more into the lineup. So hoping for a little bit of a jump there. Definitely would like to see a jump from Matt Coronado. Hoping that he can get that goal scoring starting to go on the NHL level. We got little teasers of him. It took him a while to score a goal, so that early struggle might have hurt him, and and they ended up putting him down. And I thought that was probably the right move considering the season they were having, and just didn't look like he was ready for a top 6 role yet. And we'll just have to kind of wait and see if he is ready. Connor Zary, another really good young player for the Flames, also listed as a center, hoping for yet another advance in his play. Let's just see how he did last season. In 63 games, he had 34 points, so kind of a point every other game. If that's the case, we're looking at maybe 40, 45 points out of Sorry, I'm just Connor Zary is what we're talking about right here. So yeah, maybe a jump in points, that would be fantastic. A bigger role on the team, that would be good. I like Connor Zary. And then you have other players, kind of the depth roles here. You have Walker Dewar, Dryden Hunt, and Adam Klapka. We'll see which of that group fills in the top 6, which ones do make the team. Will Matt Coronado find a permanent spot? It seems Connor Zary has a permanent spot, and same with Martin Pospisil. We get to the defense where it's changed a little bit. Lost some players here over last season, but not the worst. They added some people. So Mackenzie Weegar, who had a fantastic season, quietly a fantastic season for the Calgary Flames, scored a bunch of goals. Really like Mackenzie Weegar. Good value, 30-year-old. I think he's playing damn fine for his contract at 6.25 for the next quite a bit. So it's okay. Rasmus Anderson, we got 24, 25, 2 more years at 4.5. Are they going to move this guy? He's a fantastic defenseman. Is he right-handed? That could be a big thing. So let's take a look here. Oh, right. Yep. So that's the right-handed 5. If the Flames wanted to move that, they could get something very nice. I would love Rasmus Anderson on the Toronto Maple Leafs. That would be num. I would love that on that cap hit as well. And I don't know if the Flames are going to be willing to or wanting to, make that extension in 26-27 when he will be 29. He'll still be really damn good, but at that point he's going to want to get paid, and he will get paid. And I don't know if Calgary's going to be in that position to want to pay him. They have Jake Bean now. They added him at a lower cap hit. I'm not expecting a whole lot. They have Danny Mironov, which they added in, I think it was the Dallas trade for Tanev. They brought in Kevin Ball, the New Jersey trade with Markstrom. Really excited to have Kevin Ball, 24-year-old defenseman. He's fucking huge. He is basically our, not to be rude, but no-name brand, compliments, value brand, whatever you want to call it, version of Zadorov, which I think is fine. He's substantially cheaper, and he's probably going to have a solid role on this team, so I'm excited to have him. They have Joel Hanley. He will be probably a depth defenseman, bottom 6. Oliver Shillington still needs a contract. We'll see where that one goes. Ilya Solyov. Not really sure who the fuck that is, honestly. We'll see. Maybe he's 23. They have 2 23-year-old defensemen in Ohachuk. That's a tough name, but I don't know if they're going to crack the roster this season. Maybe get a sniff at the beginning. We'll see where it goes. They might end up getting moved down, or who knows. We'll see if they can make the team. And then the goaltending. The goaltending is the big old question mark here. How good of a season will Dustin Wolf have? As a 23-year-old goaltender, he's been in the system for a while now and been projected to be a starting goaltender at some point in the NHL. And is he ready for it now? He played last season, not mind-blowingly amazing numbers. Obviously, the team at that point was not as great defensively anymore. In 17 games, 3.16 goals against, and a .893 save percentage. So yeah, not mind-blowing, but it wasn't that he played bad. It's just the team in front of him isn't necessarily amazing. So we'll hope for Dustin Wolf. He will, I would imagine, be playing more than 17 games this season. And I'm really hoping that this young man, 23-year-old goaltender, can do some work for the Calgary Flames. Maybe steal him a game or 2. They still need to sign him, though. He's a restricted free agent. Not really worried about him getting stolen away. The Flames will be able to sign him. They have cap space, I think. Look, we should check on that. Hold on, let's take a look. Where does it say? Again, still, oh yeah, they have $20 million in cap space. We're good, folks. We are good. So their defense looking like that. We're talking about goaltenders. So Dan Vladar, more than likely going to be a 1A, 1B. He has not necessarily been very good for the Flames. I was extremely excited when they got him from Boston. I thought that was going to be a steal. He looked like he was projected to be a clear starter behind a fantastic goaltending tandem in Boston. So I was excited when he came over, and he hasn't been fantastic either. But he's 26. maybe now's the time. He's definitely going to be getting more games. He only played 20 last year with an .882 save percentage. So I don't think the goaltending's going to be very great for the Calgary Flames. Their defense doesn't look great as either outside of Mackenzie Weegar and Rasmus Andersson. Like, Kevin Ball is a solid young defenseman, but these guys aren't really amazing. Like, I don't think most of these are probably top 6, maybe depth defensemen on like really good teams, and they're going to be having top 4 minutes here in Calgary. We'll see if Jake Bean, 26, he kind of is what he is at this point, but hey, maybe they can use him on the power play. I always feel like he was supposed to be an offensive defenseman. Who knows, man? I do not expect great things from this team, but I'm rooting for the young players, of course, on this team. Like, it's a young team up and coming with some older players that hopefully can shepherd them along. Like, the Mackenzie Weegers will hopefully be able to shepherd along their first round draft pick that they brought in. Don't remember his name right now, but they also have a lot of older forwards that hopefully could shepherd along some of these younger guys. Like, Nazem Kadri, hopefully at this point should be, I'm hoping, like almost like a wisdom man in the locker room. Like, I was a young player that, went through some shit. I played in Toronto and yada yada. So hoping for some good things, at least out of the young guys this season for the Calgary Flames. Let me know how low do you think the Calgary Flames are going to be in the standings? Are they a bottom 5 team in this league? It's too early for me to say. I still need to go through the rest of the leagues and see, but yeah, not a great looking defensive core. We've seen what this forward group is able to do. It's probably a little bit weaker now than it was last season, and yeah, so it's going to be a team that is going to struggle to score, probably going to struggle to keep the puck out of the net. Those two things generally lead to a not awesome team, but let me know, what do you think? Where's Calgary going to end up? I won't say just yet, because I am scared, but a team that we might need to be scared about is the Nashville Predators. This one was fun. I was listening to the Chris Johnson show. I think that's what his podcast is. Great show. Go check it out if you haven't, but listen to me more. Anyway, he said that early cup pick, I don't know how serious he was, but a fairly serious pick, early pick, was the Nashville Predators. And I was like, damn, that is a spicy meatball. And I was like, damn, you know what? I'm going to check that one out. I want a I don't know, I'm not going to say deep dive, but I'm going to dive into the Nashville Predators roster right now because they made a huge splash in free agency, brought in a whole boatload of people, and potentially a lot of pissed off, fired up new dudes who are mad at their old teams that maybe want to stick it to the man and win a Stanley Cup, the first Stanley Cup for the Nashville Predators. That would be wicked. I just want to say, before anything, my dad drank a lot of beers and just a lot in general. That's not where am I going with that? Anyway, he got a lot of free stuff in those beer cases. You know what I'm saying? I had a little mini Stanley Cup for the Nashville Predators way back. This was like early, maybe 2000s when I got this, and I still have it. So I would love for that little Stanley Cup to finally mean something. That would be, I've been holding on to it forever because, like, I've always liked the Predators logo. It's cool. I thought the Stanley Cup was cool, and the little mini cup was cool. So yeah, that would be wicked. So Chris Johnson thinks that the Nashville Predators are a team to look out for a Stanley Cup win. So let's check. I'm not laughing as like, I just think it's cool and I'm excited to talk about it. So forward-wise, let's just go there. Forward-wise, they brought in some new people, right? But first, the tried and true, the best mustache in the league, I don't even care, Philip Forsberg, 29-year-old. They say he's a center. That's not true. I think he's a left winger, bro. Anyway, check that out, Puckpedia. I'm just so far loving Puckpedia. Really good so far. $8.5 million, fantastic contract for Philip Forsberg, one of the deadliest scorers. Under the radar scores, I don't know how under the radar these days, but 48 freaking goals last season. I don't think he's really under the radar anymore. 94 points. This guy's amazing. And for that contract, yeah, bro, that's a really good deal for Philip Forsberg. You got Steven Stamkos. He is here now on an $8 million contract for the next 4 seasons, which, yes, will probably, who knows, man? Steven Stamkos is a top player. He's an elite player. He is still producing at a point per game. He's still elite at scoring. He's actually having his most productive years in his later seasons, which is, because of the injury problems he had in the middle there. Regardless, this guy is a winner. This guy is a leader. This guy is now fired the fuck up. Apparently, he has had some interviews. I think it was him and or Marchessault. They probably had very similar things. But like Stamkos, he's fired up. That, and maybe possibly even a little jealous at looking at Hedman over there. He got the contract. No problem. There's a long history of Stamkos having to wait a longer periods of time to get his contracts done, getting them done at the last second, almost becoming a Leaf, or just leaving Tampa early in general. Maybe he never wins those Stanley Cups. Regardless, Stamkos has always had to wait. He's always had to be the more patient guy, and Hedman has never had to be patient. He gets his contracts early in advance, and it's not a situation, but when I know it's cutthroat, but you have to look at it. Defensemen of Hedman's caliber do not grow on trees. And I'm not saying Steven Stamkos' grow on trees, but there are more elite forwards in the NHL than there are elite defensemen like Victor Hedman. There are maybe 7 or 8 defensemen in the league of Hedman's caliber, and I understand Tampa Bay coveting Hedman so much, and I will never forget the Columbus collapse. Hedman was injured and he wasn't there, and that's when I realized, I should have realized it earlier, but Hedman is the straw that stirs the drink of the Tampa Bay Lightning. He is the most important piece outside of Vasilevsky on that team. Trust me, bro. Hedman is incredible. He's still incredible. Maybe his defensive numbers are not as amazing as they used to be, but he's still offensively deadly, still a good quality all-around defenseman. Regardless, that is why I think they've done that, because Stamkos is something not replaceable necessarily, but there are stopgaps that are, that could be more effective than trying to replace a Victor Hedman. Good luck with that. So that's my 2 cents on that. I am totally on Stamkos' side. Apparently he was offered, or he suggested he wanted $4 million over the 7 or 8 years that was offered to Stamkos to keep the cap hit down, and Tampa said, nah, we want to give you 3.25, and he was like, fuck this shit. Nashville's offering me $8 million. It's more money over a shorter period of time than Tampa offered over a longer period of time. So it'd be a boneheaded decision to not take that contract from Nashville. So this dude's fired up, and so is Jonathan Marchessault. Similar situation. Pissed off at his former team Vegas because he got Vegased by Vegas. I'm not surprised by it. I'm shocked that people are shocked by that. They're like, what? They cut Jonathan Marchessault? It's he's just one of numerous guys that they have been cutthroat to and left. I don't think it's the wrong decision for Vegas. He's 33, just coming off of his best season ever. Problem is, I thought he would have gotten maybe more than 5.5 on the free market. That's a bargain, bro. For Conn Smythe winning. This guy's a winner. He is clutch as fuck. He's 33 now, but I think he could still produce. He just came off of his best season ever. Don't expect him to come in and get 42 goals necessarily in his first season. He could. He can hit 40 potentially again. 69 points. Nice. For the regular season last year with Vegas. But we know this guy brings it in the playoffs, and that's where Nashville's hoping, at least Chris Johnson is hoping, where they're going to do some damage. On top of that, they still have, those are just some of the new additions. Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault. Boom, you just added 2 top 6 forwards to your team. Bonafide, solid. Ryan O'Reilly was excellent for them last year. Now, potentially, he could slot down to that second line center role, and Stamkos could be the top line center if they want to use him as a center. I know he's I don't really know where he's been utilized more on Tampa lately, but he's listed as a center. I know he's always been a center in the video games, but I know he's not necessarily the best at faceoffs, but we know Ryan O'Reilly, one of the best in the league at faceoffs. He can come in and do the big defensive draws. He's a defensive juggernaut. He scored really solidly last season. He shocked the hell out of me. He shut my mouth. He's still a very good player. They have Thomas Novak, another, I wouldn't say young anymore, but he's a good, solid, underrated player that they got locked in for the next 3 years at 3.5. Solid deal. Now, the one thing with Nashville is they are potentially still kind of weak down the middle. They do, like I said, they have Stamkos, not great on faceoffs. They have Ryan O'Reilly, he's great. And then you have like Thomas Novak, Colton Sissons, there's Cody Glass, like they also have Gustav Nyquist listed as a center. That I don't think that's correct either, but Gustav Nyquist, he was excellent for them last season. He's still there on for $3.3 million deal or whatever for 75 points. Dude, this guy crushed it last season. So if he can do that again, dude, yeah. So they're getting deeper. They got a lot of elite talent now up front. They got solid depth. I mean, they might need to move off of a Cody Glass or something because they are tight against the cap, and they still have people to sign. Trying to find them here. No, we're not worried about that one. Was there someone I'm missing? Oh, well, okay. But they are tight to the cap. They're like right up against it. So I don't think Cody Glass is necessarily living up to that 2.5. They could move him. He's still a restricted free agent upcoming next year. So that's a movable asset. I don't know about that 2.5, but a team that's struggling to get to the floor, maybe looking for a young asset that could potentially still be molded into something else in a better, newer situation. That could be someone that a team is targeting. They have Cole Smith, Michael McCarron, and Mark Jankowski, plus Luke Evangelista, who's another young up-and-coming winger. Yeah, man, that is a solid under-the-radar forward group, man. Like, now you have the bigger names in Stamkos. No offense to guys like Philip Forsberg, but Nashville just doesn't get the media love unless they're in the finals and had PK Subban and Rene and all that shit. But this is, kind of a dangerous forward core right now. We just have to see. Like, I can't guarantee that Stamkos and Marchessault are going to be perfect fits right away. That kind of thing doesn't always happen, but I am excited to see the new additions. And then their defense is ridiculous. They have Roman Josi, who is, again, one of those Victor Hedman level defensemen. One of maybe, like I said, 8 or 10 in the league. Dude's insane on a $9 million cap hit, which is a bargain for what he does. He's incredible. What do you call it? Norris level freaking, he's always nominated or winning Norrises. They now added Brady Shea, which may be a risk in the long run. It's a longer contract for a 30-year-old defenseman, $7 million. But for right now, he is another, like, on that cusp. Like, he is a very, very good defenseman as well, and he can do a little bit of everything, man. He can score, he can defend. He's in all those situations. Played big minutes for Carolina. Yeah, and Carolina, they had a lot of good defensemen. He was one of the better ones, probably the best outside of Slavin. So a big ad right there on the blue line as well. They have Alexander Carrier, Luke Schenn, Dante Fabro, Jeremy Lauzon, and then Tyson Barrie's more than likely gone. And they have Spencer Stasny, 24-year-old defenseman that they need to sign. So that's a nice looking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a nice looking top six, or defensive core right there. And on top of that, they're going to have guys that are in the minors that could fill in. I'm just going to see if there's any names that really stick out for the forwards, at least. I know there were some. They have like Vinny Hinostroza, Anthony Angelo. They signed Kiefer Bellows. Maybe he can crack into their lineup. They have Liam Foudy. He's still unrestricted, may not come back. And then, okay, here are the guys. Philip Tomasino and UC Parsonen, both young centers. Tomasino 22, Parsonen 23, and both were actually pretty solid players for them last season. So let's take a look. Last year, 41 games played, 20 points for. That is Tomasino. Not bad. Seven goals. That's a point every other game player when he plays a full 82 games. He only got into about half the season there. And, lost him there. Juuso Parsonen in 44 games, 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 points. Okay, maybe not electrifying, game-changing guys. That's not what I was saying in the first place. But Tomasino, pretty solid, underrated player. They can fill out the depth in the bottom six of this Nashville team. There's always going to be injuries. So, yeah, they have that covered there. There's some pretty solid guys. along there. And when I'm looking at their defense, you're seeing they have Gravel. He could be a potentially a depth defenseman for them. They have Prokop, who I think is a a prospect. Like I said, I'm tired. I'm just tired. So we get to the goaltending. We know who's here now, baby. It's UC Saros' team, and he is coming in now. Well, this is last year at $5 million. Then he gets the extension at 7.74, which is, you don't like to spend that much on goaltending. They're not spending a lot on their backup, which is fine. They have Scott Wedgwood signed, who is a solid backup goaltender. He was pretty good for Dallas, as long as he's not overused. So there might be a problem with Nashville if they overuse Saros, if they have to rely on him a lot in the regular season. Then there's potential for him to burn out in the playoffs. So that could, or even injuries, anything like that. And Wedgwood is a good backup, but when it's too much, it's a little bit too much. And then they have Lankinen. He's still needs to be re-signed, unrestricted free agent. He was solid for them last season as well. So, I don't know. You got UC Saros. That's a pretty damn, solid guy that you can rely on in the net. He's pretty freaking good. And on top of this, so this is something cool about Nashville as well. They have assets. They have very interesting assets. They have a pretty good crop of draft picks. They have 2 first-rounders in 25, 2 second-rounds in 25, 3 third-rounders in 25. So they have something to play with right there. If they want to add, maybe throw off a contract they don't want anymore, they can add in a third. They have extra of those. They got an extra second and an extra first. Plus, they have the goaltender, Askarov, that they might trade. That could be a thing, and I don't like. You would imagine the goaltender maybe would want to get traded because he is projected to be a starting, possibly a league goaltender in the NHL. He was a first-round draft pick, lots of expectations. He's dominated in the leagues that he's been playing in, and he looks ready to come up at least and start playing backup. He could be a backup for Nashville this year. That could be a thing that they may need to do, and he could thrive in that role. Like, if he can just crush it, but who knows? He may get traded. There could be, he could have a lot of value, though it is a goaltender, but, goalies don't generally bring back a lot, so who knows what's going to happen with Askarov, but you pair that with a first-rounder, holy shit. Yeah, so Nashville has assets, they have a good-looking team, so yeah, I understand why Chris Johnson is I can see Nashville potentially winning a cup. They are fueled by anger with Stamkos. They're probably amped, first of all, that they have now gotten Marchessault and Stamkos on the team. Shea, they loaded up, and Saros is back there. You got game changers on every position. You have Stamkos, Marchessault, and Philip Forsberg up front. You got Yossi, potentially, and Brady Shea on the back end, and you have UC Saros in net. So, yeah, that's a dangerous-looking team. I agree with Chris Johnson. I'm not saying they're going to win the cup, but they could do some damage this year in the playoffs, so watch the fuck out for Nashville. Another thing to potentially look the fuck out for is the Sidney Crosby extension with the Pittsburgh Penguins. It sounds like Peanut Butter and Sid is going to be staying with the Pens, which isn't necessarily a shock. A little bit of a disappointment, absolutely. If anyone's on that train, sure, I'll hop on with you because I want Sidney Crosby to... Sure, I'll go with all the fun situations. Play with Colorado, play with Nathan McKinnon and Drouin, play in Montreal because that would make the Habs fans happy. Come over to Toronto, try and help us win a frickin' Stanley Cup. Sign for $1. We'll give you $87 because he's superstitious. Hence the Peanut Butter and Sid nickname. I actually just learned that one this week and it made me giggle. I'm calling this podcast, this episode is Peanut Butter and Sid. It's not... Anyway, he eats a peanut butter sandwich before every game. He is omega superstitious. The whole contract, the number 87, his contract having 8.7, and just, yeah, the guy he's probably still wearing that same dirty, disgusting jockstrap. But we are looking at probably one superstition going away, and, well, not necessarily, but... that contract of Sidney Crosby's, the 8.7 12-year freaking contract that he was on, which was a bargain, the whole entire contract, the whole entire thing. And yeah, I think at this point, he's probably not going to re-sign for 8.7. Maybe this time it's going to look like a 10.87 million, 11.87 million for 3 to 4 years, something like that. I don't think he's going to be looking for a very long extension, and I don't think he needs to. I think he'll be fine with that. Probably line it up with Letang and Malkin, something like that. And yeah, I think he deserves to be paid. I would, like I said, I would love for the storyline for him to, I know Penguins fans don't want to hear it, but I was fine with Matt Sundin leaving. We wanted him to leave. He kind of fucked us over by not leaving, and at this point, Crosby is not doing that. I don't even think people would. I would love to hear if there are trade offers out there, real ones that have been sent out to the Pens for Crosby. What would Colorado be throwing out there for a Sidney Crosby? Or, it would have been cool if Crosby just walked and, just was sitting out there in free agency and say, "Come to me," and everyone comes swarming to the mountain of Crosby and trying to sign him and win a Stanley Cup. That would be so much fun. But it doesn't sound like we're going to have that kind of fun in the NHL. I don't think Crosby's going anywhere, and the extension may have already happened, and this is old news. But that's my prediction, and from what I'm hearing from the hockey podcasts I listen to, that sounds like the number. They all sound to be agreed upon that it'll be more than his $8.7 million that he was making, which is fine. But also leads me to, when you talk about the Penguins, they are almost always linked to the Washington Capitals. So kind of opposite off seasons, you have the Capitals making bold, risky moves, trying to get better. They made the playoffs last season. Like it or not, they did. Did they deserve it? No, not necessarily. But it happened. They made the playoffs. They got dusted. They got swept and didn't win a single game. And yeah, now they have what looks to be a better looking team on paper. We'll look at them after, but we'll look at the Pens first. We want to take a look at the Pens first because they haven't really done a whole lot. A lot of people are calling this team vanilla. They definitely don't look better than they did last season. They do have a little bit of cap space right now, so they can make more moves. There's not a lot left in free agency. I think you're looking at guys like, hey, maybe they bring back Dylan Sprong. They let him go, and he's been a damn fine player. A little bit. I'm not necessarily surprised that Sprong hasn't signed. I'm guessing he's asking for more money than people want to pay him from previous contracts. He's been on bargain contracts, and he just scores with limited time, which means he is definitely a player that has some weaknesses, more than likely defensive weaknesses, but he can score goals. So the Penguins have $3.5 million-ish, and yeah, we'll see if they can play with that, what Kyle Dubas can do, but he hasn't been Dubasing a lot. So he has Crosby, potential extension incoming. We've talked about this. So they have Malkin, the milkman, 37 years old. Crosby is 36. He'll be coming into the season 37 years old. Malkin will be 38. This is an old ass team, bro. And Crosby was excellent last season. He was fantastic. 42 goals, man, 52 assists, 94 points, over a point a game. No complaints for Sidney Crosby. He was amazing last year, and he's going to have to be like that level again, and that's a lot to ask for players getting in this age. We're seeing Malkin beginning to decline. He had 67 points in 82 games. He played a full season again, which is crazy, and yeah, he was under a point a game. So you can only expect him to potentially do something equal to that, more than likely maybe worse. Not likely he's going to get better. So 6.1, not terrible. It's just he's just an older player now, and he's declining. So to expect Malkin and Crosby to keep putting this team on their backs like they used to, it's not really a reality anymore. Crosby a little bit still because he's insane, but yeah, Malkin's declining. Brian Rust was awesome last year. I've had him in fantasy. He just needs to stay healthy. As long as he's healthy in the lineup, he was awesome. Rickard Rakell, at $5 million, 31 years old, he, I believe, has also struggled to stay healthy. And yeah, hasn't really been living up to that $5 million contract. Only 37 points last year in 70 games. So, yeah, not great. He had a pretty solid start with the Pens, at least, the season he got traded there, and he was pretty good. First 82-game season, he had 60 points, almost 30 goals, and then, so last season was a real downfall for Rickard Rakell. He has the potential to bounce back and get closer to the points that he was getting. Michael Bunting was a great addition for the team last season. Late, he is a player that fits and plays well with superstars. He's played with Marner and Matthews, and he's fit in great. And he has fit in great so far with the Pens, playing with their superstars. So Bunting, 4.5, I like that. They added Kevin Hayes, which is just kind of like a deal, like or addition, if you will. He's 32, he's a center, not great defensively, hasn't been awesome. His offense isn't really been great either. They have Lars Eller, who's 35. What can you ask out of Lars Eller anymore? You got Noel Achari, solid bottom six player right there. I'm not going to say nothing bad about Noel Achari. Blake Lizotte, bottom six. Anthony Bolivier, maybe they can find some of that, sprinkle that Crosby dust there and see if they can get him going. Matt Nieto. They have Jesse Puljujarvi. That, again, he's 26 now, so I don't know what they can pull from him. So, it's, I agree, very vanilla-looking team, man, not very good. Even the big names now, like Malkin doesn't really scare me anymore, unless he's on the power play against the Leafs, then, I'm fucking terrified, but, and then their defense, also pretty old. Erik Karlsson, 34 years old, he's not scoring 100 points like he did that one time in San Jose. No, I hope no one expected that to continue on in Pittsburgh, because it didn't. But he's still good. He's fine. It's Erik Karlsson. He's not, defensively amazing or anything like that. Chris Letang is 37 years old now, and he's been dealing with just a litany of injury problems and just really bad. He had strokes or some shit. Didn't he have a heart attack? 2? Anyway, not great. Ryan Graves, he was brought in, I think, for 4.5. That's just too much money. Marcus Pettersson, he's pretty damn good. I like him. Matt Grzelcyk, Ryan Shea, they have Sebastian Aho, the defenseman version, which is, not an electric-looking defensive core. Like I said, even the big names, Karlsson, Letang, they're older now. Karlsson, he didn't have a bad season. He was not bad. It's just didn't have 100 points. He had 56 points, 11 goals, 45 assists. Solid. Not really worth the $9 million, $10 million that he's getting paid. So, yikes. And then the goaltending, which was also kind of should you have extended Tristan Jarry? Is there a potential they could still move him at 5.375? If you're looking for a regular season goalie, maybe, but he struggles with health problems. He just kind of inconsistent at times. And I think he has a tendency, to collapse in the playoffs, does he not? You can correct me if I'm wrong. But re-signing Nedeljkovic, a.k.a. Ned, or Neddy, maybe, for 2.5, good value right there. He was really good for the Penguins last season. And, they have some buyouts and retentions and shit like that. And there's not a lot to really be excited about in their cupboard board because they've been chasing Stanley Cups for almost 2 decades, so they don't really have the cupboards filled with a lot of upcoming prospects that are going to really electrify the team, kind of like Dallas, where they have all this young guys energizing the lineup, and that's just not happening right now with the Pens. I don't think this team would make the playoffs the way that they are right now. Like I said, they could do some stuff. It's not over yet. It's very early, but right now they definitely haven't done the work that their rival, the Washington Capitals, have done. I don't think Washington's going to win no Stanley Cup or anything, but I think they have done a much better job at keeping themselves competitive for Ovechkin's final years than Pittsburgh is for Crosby and Malkin and Letang's final years. Maybe those guys are starting to regret their decisions re-signing, just maybe the competitive edge within these guys. They won 3 Stanley Cups, and losing, they don't like that. That is not a thing they are used to. They have missed the Stanley Cup twice now, which is just what? Crosby missing playoffs? What? That's insane. That's just crazy for people. So we'll talk about the Washington Capitals and what they have done lately. which was a heck of a lot more than the Pittsburgh Penguins. It made a lot of risky and bold moves. They are currently, shockingly, $14 million over the salary cap. Now they're gonna have the Backstrom go on LTIR. That will help them mostly, but not all the way. Regardless, draft pick wise, they have a couple of extra picks in terms of a second. They have one extra second in 25, an extra 5th round pick. They do not have their 6th or 7th. They've made some moves as well in the offseason trade wise, bringing in the likes of Pierre-Luc Dubois, $8.5 million. I mean, he had a disaster season with the LA Kings over there. It just did not work, and I mean, not to be like mean to the LA or the Kings. It's just like, what'd you expect, man? Like, this guy just ain't it, I don't think, man. Honestly, 82 games, 40 points, 16 of them goals, 24 assists, just not even close to living up to that $8.5 million contract. Did nothing for them in the playoffs, didn't really make a difference for the Capitals in that run either. It's just like, geez, man, like, who knows? Maybe the 15th team that this guy ends up on, that's where he finally realizes, like, he's not the hottest shit in the world, and but, he's at least getting paid like it, so he's happy at least, so he wins there. You gotta at least hope that this dude's gonna get more than frickin' 40 points on the Capitals. It sounds like the team, like the players are excited, Ovechkin included, to have a guy like this, a 26-year-old, potentially top 6 center, at least, a top-line center, coming in. That doesn't happen very often, and these are special circumstances where Pierre-Luc Dubois just, had to be dumped, and the Capitals really need centers to help out with the Backstrom loss and to help out Ovechkin, potentially. We'll see where that goes. He's not ever been, like, a big assist guy. Like, I think the highest amount of assists that he has here is a staggering 36 assists, which he had in 22-23 with the Winnipeg Jets. So he's not doing Backstrom numbers of assists like in the 50s, the 60s, potentially 70s. And but you know what? Hey, they needed a center. It'll help them with the Ovechkin thing, and maybe they can get back into playoffs again. And they have at least Pierre-Luc Dubois, and if they do make the playoffs, maybe he finds that playoff thing again, and he starts to get confident. Maybe he just needs to get a little bit of confidence back. It's gonna, the lights are still gonna be on him, of course, with the Ovechkin thing, because Ovechkin, every time he scores or doesn't score, it's a story, and then Pierre-Luc Dubois is more than likely going to be attached to those stories. So they have Ovechkin. He is 187 years old, in hockey years at least. He's 38, left winger. He got to 30 goals. Took him a while to get there, but a slow start. He had a break, and then he came back, and he was great down the back half of the season. So could he get to 30 again? I would like to think so. Could he get more? I would like to hope so. That would be great. $9.5 million. Let's just break that Gretzky record, baby. That's all we want now. Tom Wilson's still there for 6.5. He's, They brought in Andrew Mangia. Oh my goodness, dropped my phone. My apologies. They brought in Andrew Mangiapane, which I'm very sad the Flames do not have no more, but I understand it. Just had a rough year. Probably just needed to get that frick out of Calgary. Don't blame him. It was a rough year, and it's going to be an even rougher season like I talked about earlier. So him being there as a stressed asset, they got him super cheap. He's 5.8. We'll see if he can live up to that and earn himself an extension, maybe a pay raise, or he just at least maybe can find a home in Washington and stay there. Or he's 28. He can go to free agency after this. He can get traded to a contender. Who knows what's going to happen with Mangiapane, but I hope it goes well. He's a very, very hardworking player. He maybe doesn't always put up the points that he does, that you would like to see him put up every year, but he's a hardworking guy. So, and if he can get to the playoffs, that could be another guy to watch the fuck out for. He can be good. Same with Tom Wilson, of course. I'm not disrespecting Tom Wilson. It was just that, like, the Marner rumors, people throwing, bring in Tom Wilson for Marner. It's just like, I can't though. Like, Tom Wilson, the injuries and all that, I don't know. They have TJ Oshie, he's 37. I thought he retired, so that. They have Dylan Strome, who's been a damn solid player for them, damn good player, in fact, for $5 million. Could be strapped to Ovi or we'll see if Dubois takes it, but he's been a good capital. They have Protois, who's a young 23-year-old player for them. He got extended for quite a bit of money. We'll see if he is able to live up to that. 78 games played last season. He had 29 points, 6 goals. So, yeah, right now he's going to have to do a little bit more than that to start living up to that 3.375. I mean, in the long run, that could be fantastic. He starts to really find an offensive game or start to really find an elite defensive game. Honestly, don't really know what this guy brings to the team. I have no idea what kind of player he is. My apologies, but it is what it do. They have Connor McMichael, a player I really like him. He's key. He's on 2.1, 23-year-old. See if he can make another leap forward. How did he do last season? I feel like he did, not bad. Not bad at all. 80 games, 18 goals, 33 points. Not bad. Almost a 20-goal player. So we'll see if he can crack the 20 goals this season. That'd be fantastic. You have Sonny Milano. Great hair, great name. Like him a lot. His game is fine. Can't go wrong. Brandon Duhaime, 1.8. Really good bottom 6 player. Very nice. Would have loved to have him join the squad for the Leafs last season, but maybe this year. They have Nick Dowd, solid, probably 4th line center there. Taylor Radish, maybe he can get a little bit of extra playing time. He's 26, so kind of is what he is. They have Hendrix Lapierre. He's 22 years old. He got into 51 games last season and got 22 points. That is not bad at all. So Hendrix Lapierre could get a bigger role on the team this season for sure. Looking for that. Cool. And then defense. This is where they made another massive splashes right here. So you have John Carlson, tried and true, 34 years old, offensive defenseman. You brought in Matt Roy. So this guy, you pair him with John Carlson. Let me take a look here. So John Carlson, he is a right shot. Oh no, is Matt Roy a right shot as well? Let's take a look, folks. He is, in fact, so he probably won't get paired with Carlson. I don't know if Jacob Chychrun would be the better pairing with Matt Roy and Carlson would be perfect, but maybe they're going to do Carlson and Chychrun, and they're going to do Matt Roy with Sandin, possibly. Regardless, they brought in Chychrun for dirt cheap. They could trade that asset at the trade deadline, maybe get something really good if they could keep him healthy and get him some goals, because he can score goals as a defenseman. Big, good shot. Matt Roy, fucking one of the better defensive defensemen, so that's a great addition. I know the Leafs were in on him, but the Capitals added the extra year. So, yeah, it sucks that couldn't get Matt Roy. He's a damn fine defenseman right there. TVR, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, he's damn fine. Martin Feravari, he's pretty solid. They have Ethan Bear there for $2 million. Don't know if he's going to get into the lineup. I would love to see him get in there. I believe he was in the player assistance program not long ago. So he's been, he's 27 years old now. So, the ceiling was set for him. I don't think he's quite reached that ceiling, but it's okay. Just hopefully he can find a home somewhere, and hopefully maybe Washington's that. They have Alexiev, 24-year-old defenseman, and Lucas Johansson, 26-year-old defenseman. He still needs to be signed. Probably maybe not going to get him re-signed. And then in net, they changed it up with Charlie Lindgren. Not him. He's back. He was great for them last year. Risky to see if he can do it again in a bigger role, but they also brought in Logan Thompson, which is just wow. He's only making $766,000. So an amazing cap hit for a goaltender of his caliber. He does struggle at times with injuries, but when he plays, pretty damn solid. 46 games last season, 2.7 goals against, and a .908 save percentage. So that is damn solid. If they can get that out of him, and he plays a healthy season, that could be fantastic for them. They get out of the Kemper deal, bringing in Dubois. It was, I think, just a good hockey trade. I think both teams it was just a trade. I don't think there's any winner or loser just yet. Way too early, but Capitals have done things to make their team better, and they were a playoff team. The team, I think, is now better. They have Max Pacioretty as well. I don't think they're going to re-sign him. More than likely just going to let him go. And yeah, so let me know. What do you guys think? Do you think the Capitals are going to make the playoffs, or are the Penguins going to make the playoffs, or are they both going to miss, or are they both going to get in? What do you think? Very interesting. I just think that the Capitals have done a better job, at least, surrounding Ovi, giving him a better opportunity to hopefully get to that Gretzky record, which we all want to see him break. It's going to be amazing. Oh, and one other piece of Washington news to touch on, of course, is the promotion of Chris Patrick as the GM. Now, I don't think these moves are really going to change anything for what the Capitals are doing organizationally. I believe it's just the guy that was GM, he moved up one slot, and then that dude moved up into his slot. So I believe everything is going to be running the same, but regardless, that guy, I don't know why I called him brother, but that homie, I don't know, doesn't matter. He's getting a pay raise. So congratulations. Can I get a pay raise over here? Whatever. Everyone deserves a pay raise that is not rich anyway. There you go. So that's cool for the Washington Capitals. And the only one other thing I want to touch on, we're over an hour here, so I'll save a couple of the other topics I wanted to talk about for next week. So there you go. I won't tell you what I'm going to talk about. Actually, I will. We're going to be talking about Carolina and the Leon Draisaitl extension. So that's for next week, a little teaser. But we'll finish off with some notable players that are going to arbitration. Arbitration is basically, it's always awful when it does happen. I think it was 28 players listed for arbitration or some shit. Basically, it's a disagreement in what they think they're worth. GM says you're worth X. Player thinks I'm worth Y, and they disagree. So they go to a third-party arbitrator, and they disagree and argue with each other in front of that arbitrator and tell them why he's not worth that, and he tells them why he's a cheapskate and won't pay me. So it generally sours most, if not all, relationships that go to arbitration. The big one was like PK Subban. That went to arbitration, and yeah, that did not end up going well. They traded the fuck out of PK, so not saying that all these guys are confirmed going to arbitration, just some names that are notable on the list. Most people don't go to arbitration. Generally, people are trying to avoid that, but names on there are Carolina's Martin H.S., who probably won't be on Carolina much longer. Ryan Lindgren of the New York Rangers. That one's interesting because he is a very, very valuable defenseman to them. He is extremely good defensively. He is a shot-blocking king. He is an animal that fights through all sorts of pain, so it could be an interesting fight right there if it goes there. J.J. Moser of Tampa Bay, he was just brought in, so that's kind of interesting as well. They're kind of like, I don't know, that could be hard because J.J. Moser's be like, hey, I'm doing this shit over here in Arizona. It's like, you're not in Arizona anymore, kids, so we think you're worth this, so take it or leave it, basically. So that could be an interesting fight if it gets there. And then UPL, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen of Buffalo. That one, again, could be interesting because goalies are always difficult to give money to, honestly. They got to be the most frustrating because, like, yeah, he looked amazing at points in the season, like late down the stretch and stuff. He was playing really good, but goalies are tough. Like, we'll see. I don't even know what that contract's looking like. Like, does he want a lot of years? Like, I am of the mind, I agree with the hockey guy. He's like, a perfect contract is like 3 to 4 years, and I'm like, yes, unless it's a super duper star like a Draisaitl, McDavid, Matthews. Those guys, sure, give them 8 years, fine. Everyone else, 3 to 4. I agree with that mentality. I'm like, yeah, but the way that the salary cap works, people try to drive up the years to bring the salary cap down. It's madness. Except if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, you get. I'm not going down there. Not going down there. But yeah, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, goaltender. I mean, he played good, and he is the starting goaltender right now for the Buffalo Sabres. So he could be asking for something possibly ridiculous, and Buffalo may not want to pay it. But he's going to play there. I don't think he's going anywhere, but some notable names, so let me know which ones you think may end badly. And I will badly end this podcast. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to it. If you did enjoy it, please review and like the podcast wherever you're listening. Tell a friend or two. In terms of what else we got going on with the GXCast this week, it was a ridiculous weekend of wrestling for my wife and I. 3 live events snacked on: Money in the Bank, NXT Heatwave, check out my latest wrestling reviews and recaps. Sorry they went up late, but I was exhausted from my long weekend of wrestling shows and travel and screaming and yelling, so they went up a day later than I would have liked to, but my apologies. But 2 episodes there for you, so you can double dip, get a review and all that stuff. If you were there, let me know. How did you enjoy the show in Toronto? I had a blast. All 3 nights were a blast. I love those events. So go listen to that review. This week on the GX GamerCast is the big one. It's episode 100 episodes. So I am going to do my top 25 games or my top 20 favorite games. These are not the greatest games of all time. They're not the best games of all time. It is my very personal list of my favorite games of all time. And it is just an extremely hard list. It started at 10, then it got to 15, and then to 20, and then to 25. And I was like, you just have to stop. Like, at this point, I wish I started making the list earlier. Then I could have done my top 100. Maybe we'll, I don't know what I'm doing yet. Maybe the plans have changed. I might have just convinced myself. Regardless, there will be something key for episode 100, so we'll be there this weekend or Friday or something like that. So sticking around, you can follow on Twitch, or not Twitch, I don't do Twitch yet, Twitter. You can go there where I put up announcements and all that great stuff. Follow along over there. I put up some wrestling pictures from the show. You can see where I was sitting and see how bright that fucking light was. That was shining in my face for 2 days. Finally turned it off on day 3. Oh, thank God. Anyway, so check out all that stuff. I upload all these episodes to YouTube on the Gamer GX Videos YouTube channel. All the links are in the description, so you can just follow those. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Great place. You want to throw a question out to the podcast, throw it out at me. I will answer your question on the podcast, shout you out. Just throw something at me, wrestling, video games, hockey related. Love to answer your question. There's an email address there as well. Excuse me, if you want to have a private conversation about anything, doesn't matter. If you're having a bad day, good day, you just want to tell me something, doesn't matter. You want to yell, it's going to be difficult in email form, but there's an email address for you, and my door is open for everyone, so it's there if you need it. And yes, so thank you one more time, and stick around with the GX+Cast.